there were during the off season there were a couple people who seemed to delay their sponsorship announcements, and I'm talking about Chandler Kramer and Lisa Fakis, which and so they were kind of two of the last folks that announced where they were going, and it was a response that frankly I was not expecting.
Hmm.
They both Chandler Kramer and Lisa Fakis are going this season without a disc sponsorship. They're going
Yeah.
completely open bag, and they are teaming up with retailers and bag manufacturers and other folks to help sponsor their year. And so I thought this was really interesting. I thought, I mean, it's really not ever been done for a full tour. I mean, you can make the case that Infinite is a retailer, but they also make discs. And so this is really the first time that anyone's ever tried to go on a full tour without a sponsor. So,
Right.
Thomas, is this going to work? Is this sustainable at all?
My short answer, no. I do not believe in any capacity that this particular setup is made for the long haul. I think that these two people, both with Lone Star this past year, are not in a position where they've gained enough personal value with their play in the last season. Whether or not they are good disc golfers is not part of this equation. They are both really good at disc golf, and we love watching
Absolutely.
them play. But I don't think they provided enough value for themselves in the 2023 season for a discs manufacturer that late in their negotiation, especially with all the movements that have been going around. We're ready to pick that kind of player up. And so I think that this is a last minute move that is not going to be the case in 2025. You can take my word for that one, and we'll see if that plays out. But I think that this is not going to happen. And both of these players, if they end up liking it, are going to end up being sponsored by Infinite Discs next year.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I think that in its current format, I would tend to agree. I think we're a
Mm-hmm.
few years away from a situation like this being able to sustain you fully on tour, like for a relatively long time. Now, if some of these big sports manufacturers were to get involved, something like Under Armour sponsors, like does a big sponsorship with Calvin Heiberg or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
like, and they work out a great deal, similar to what Paul and believe it was Kona did with Adidas with the Terexes a few years back.
Yeah.
Um, and they did get great deals there. I do know that. And so if something like that occurred, maybe, but until then, until a big name is willing to shell out some money for like a huge brand deal like that, I don't really see. I'm with you on that. So I'm
It's hard
excited.
because, like, I don't know, disc golf and golf are very similar in how they're played, but their actual setup as a sport is much different. We're
Correct.
very aware of what, huge A tier golfers are wearing, what their sponsors are on that area, and their club manufacturer matters a lot, and people will care about it. But it's not the primary source of income for these people where it currently is on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And I think a lot
Correct.
of that plays with the malleability of these discs. They break down very quickly, they get lost very quickly, and that just doesn't happen with your golf clubs. It does with your discs. And so it is going to be the case for more than likely forever in disc golf. I find it hard to believe that there's a space where we get away from the disc manufacturer being the primary sponsorship for a disc golfer.
Yeah, it feels like this is, if it was ever sustainable, it would be the exception and not the rule.
Agreed.
And it's a little unfortunate to me for Kramer and Fakis because they're kind of in this weird limbo of being they're both great players in their own right. You know,
Right.
they are no slouches. Their game is awesome. But at the same time, they don't garner the same reaction as like a lot of players, honestly. But they're not small enough that they're gonna want to take a chance with some of the smaller companies even.
Right.
And so I'm sure that a company like AGL or I don't know, Osuma Disc, if If Chandler Kramer wanted to play for Osuma Disc, there's no way that they say no, right?
Exactly.
But Innova, Discraft, MVP, some of those bigger, the Trilogy brands, Discmania, they already filled out their teams.
Right.
And so there just wasn't space for them. And it's unfortunate, but it's the way it worked out this year. I do think that it'll be fun to watch these two play this year and see how
Yeah.
they do with the mixed bag format.
Yeah, I think you're spot on that. Like, we know that these people have a lot to offer, and this season is just going to be super important for them. So it'll be very exciting to watch them. I couldn't agree more.